Welcome to On the Map podcast, produced by Music Artist Pipeline. I'm your host, Chuck Hutchison. Today we continue our interview with the legendary producer and director, Mill Cannon.
There's something about music that, I don't know, there's just something about music. It's like a photograph. I'll put it into visual terms. You know, you start out taking photographs and you have to look at it. You take a photograph, you look at it. You take a photograph, you look at it. And then when it moves, you get so excited. Ooh, I can make it move. And that becomes video, film, motion pictures, whatever. And what's so funny is when you get way down into the top 1% of that and you've done it for all these years, now the goal is to make a photo that everybody wants to look at. And so I'm at a place now where I'm trying to do what the very first thing I started with at a master level, which is take epic photographs that people want to hang on their wall and look at. And that's one of the things that, when you asked earlier about the pandemic and how I see the next 5 years are coming out of it, we got to sell stuff. We can't rely on services anymore. We got to create product. We got to create original songs. We got to create original art. We got to create original merch and sell it online. If you're not doing that, you're going to get left behind. That's one thing. You got to have product. And I've made product for everyone and their cousin and their cousin's 6 cousins, but I've never made it for me. And so over the pandemic, we started an art company. It's going to be an online art fulfillment, hip, modern, cool canvas stuff that, you see right now in the world. There's a lot of people going into apartments. There's a lot of apartment buildings growing, and nobody has money for expensive art anymore. And being cultural, I just think if you catch the vibe of what's happening and you put it on canvas for $150, someone can like it online and just make a non-emotional decision, swipe their credit card, and now they have a piece of your art. I've got some friends who started 5 years ago. They just reached $14 million in sales. And I've looked at that and went, wow. And it's because there's a lot of people in the world. And so becoming our own product developers, I think, is what we're going to do after this. We're going to still do the music videos and the album covers and the world tours when they're available, but we can't really count on it. So we've got to diversify and have 2 bases to work from, just like you have with MAP. I mean, for those you don't know, Chuck plays in everybody's band. He produces, does backline. He plays in a couple of charting bands. He plays in combos, helps everybody in the region, because part of his process is I want to work with everybody in this area so we can find the really good folks and the great players and bring them to the pipeline. I think that's pretty cool. So the way you're having to cultivate from scratch MAP, all these years later, I got to do the same daggum thing. I've got to cultivate a new revenue stream, and it can't just be off of my back, because now there's not enough for me to cover all the employees and the building and the stuff. The industry keeps getting cheaper, and the expectations keep getting higher. So it's just part of this. It's part of what's going on. Yeah.
Well, I think part of the key with us is our area. When you're in a rural area, you don't have high costs, you don't have a lot of demands, and if you're kind of self-contained, we're almost mom and pop in a way. But and you had mentioned earlier you don't want to do big budget, big films. You would rather do the medium sized projects,
right? The more intimate.
And I think that's kind of where we're kind of going for now. Our goal is to find artists and to help them elevate themselves and get to that big level, but all the headaches that come with that. It's like running your own business and you have 100 employees. People that don't do that, they don't understand the pressure, the headaches, the fees, the cost involved, keeping your employees paid, so many things.
No doubt about it.
My dad's business, I could tell you so many horror stories just being in construction, and he had 75 employees at one time. And
business is tough, man.
Yeah. And my dad just retired, so a lot of stuff going on in that, and just so many stories I could get into, but I'm not. I'm sure you've had your horror stories too. And I know a few.
I know this about you, Chuck. You could have taken over the business, but you decided you wanted to stay true to your heart and make your living in music and raise your family in a music way and help your community, and that's what you're doing. And I know it's the long gravel road, but I think down the road, when you get late in the day and you're like, what did I do with what God gave me? You'll feel a little bit better about using the music to grow a lot of people, and, let me just say this, I watched Scooter Braun, who was a local DJ. He wasn't really doing that much. And online, he saw Justin Bieber in Canada, just a 12-year-old kid playing these little, and this is when the internet and FaceTime wasn't even out yet. What they used to call it, Skype or something. What was the first thing? IG, something? Anyway, the very first time you could do on camera and put it on the web, you started seeing all these young kids play songs, covers, and put them out. And so Scooter saw Justin Bieber in Canada, and he just saw something in him, just because he's on the internet. Ran up there, got his train ticket, went to Canada, talked to his mom, and said, I know Usher, and I think I can do something. So he got Justin down here to work with Mama Jan to get him ready for Usher, because he was learning how to sing. And lo and behold, Usher came over, and in the parking lot, I don't know the real story, but you hear whatever. And he met Justin. Justin sang for him, and the rest is history. But what that tells you is that some little kid in Canada on a little iPhone put out his music, and that's Justin Bieber. Like it or not, that's how he was discovered, and then cultivated, and then manufactured, no less. And then you've seen him go through the machine. You've seen him go through the expectations of giving a 16-year-old that much power and money when they're not ready. The good news about Justin is he was a good kid to begin with, and the industry almost ruined him. But he found God, and he found his way out the back end. And today, the Justin Bieber that's out there right now is the talented one. He is the one that has the right mindset. I'm really excited to see what he does now and how people perceive him now, because, Mama Jan had a lot to do with laying that spiritual track with him and his mother. And she's back in his life and was at his wedding last year, and he's been over. And the kind of music he's putting out now is very humble, very selfless. He's married now, and he's human. The one thing God does is he doesn't like idols. I think we all know God does not like idols. That's why,
or divas.
That's why he'll let someone like Justin Bieber get so big and then crush him, so that people can see the humanity in it. I think you see the same thing with Tiger Woods, with his wife, or Michael Jordan and the gambling, or, people that were so big, so admired, and then they become humanized and they make mistakes too. And I think that happened to Justin Bieber. And I think that I've seen someone get discovered from nowhere. So I say all that to say, you might have a Justin Bieber in Dublin or Dudley or Statesboro or Savannah or McRae or anywhere down in that area, Tifton,
Right, like the guy that just blew away the judges on American Idol. He was next town over from him. Yeah, it's Mama Jan's student too. They were actually they actually did a lesson the day before. So I tell you, there is a lot of talent in Georgia, and the problem is that we've kind of been in the past, if you think about it, you had to be discovered in a bar, know somebody, and then get artist development, and the record label spend a lot of money on you, and so on and so forth. They don't do any of that today. You have to self-produce your own stuff, get your own marketing, become your own independent developed product before they're ever going to touch you. And now it's more of a distribution channel and less of a developmental channel. So this is the opportunity you have with MAP, is that artist development is not done in the labels anymore. Now it's done by the independents. And that gives companies like Mama Jan and myself, Image Mill, a new chance to work with emerging artists and real good talented people, because they have to do it themselves. And we used to get contracts with LaFace or Zamba or Universal or Capitol or Atlantic or whomever. And the creative department would call us, and there'd be 10 people working on this one thing you got to do. And you're like, wow, why are there 10 people working on this thing? And then you give your budget, and they cut your budget down, and then you'd find out what the real budget was. And then you would be like, whoa, they're paying all those people more than the entire project, and they work for the label. And so that kind of old system, fortunately, has kind of dissolved. And so where they used to just sign you and make it a big deal, now you got to just organically grow. And that's the advantage you have in the middle Georgia area, and being able to cultivate talent. Like that little girl you had listened to the other day, Lindsay, what's her name? Tori James.
Oh, Tori James. Yeah, Tori James. She had that little Norah Jones flavor to her. Mm-hmm. I know that's someone you're developing. And, of course, David McMahon, and doing his video and his logo, and his album packaging and all was really good. And then we've talked to several other people in your area.
Did a video for Aaron Tanner, traditional country artist.
Let's talk about Aaron Tanner because I want to know more. But listen, so y'all, Chuck calls me up and says, I got this guy. He is so classic. He is George Jones dripping off a honeysuckle. And I listened to the song, and it did sound like it was from the 60s. I mean, it did sound
traditional country, straight up
country.
Yeah.
And Chuck said, "We got to."
But it was real.
It was very real. Yeah. And so he said, what kind of video would we want to do? And we'll come to Atlanta or whatever. And I said, Chuck, this needs to feel like doilies and old country kitchens. And he says, I know one of my good friends owns a place called, was it Dolee Pecan Farm?
Pecan Grove, a wedding venue.
Yeah, this is
just outside of Lumber City, Georgia.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be in Lumber City, but let me tell you something. So we go there. The owners of the place, they're just incredible. They opened their whole place up to us, and we shot all day walking through the groves in their little chapel, their wedding chapel, and their old truck, and in their house, and
the house was great. It was all antiques.
Yeah. And we were just going to do some shots, but Aaron came in and we sat down, Chuck and I and our crew, and I said, look, Aaron, if you'll stand on your head and just trust me, I'm going to stand you next to stuff, say walk here, say turn your head there. I have a vision how we can do this today and make something that's legit, and so we did. We flew the drone all around and we shot till it was dark, went on back to Atlanta. I remember that day because when I was coming back into Atlanta, the whole city was on fire, and I drove past like 500 cop cars. There was a Wendy's burning. It was during some riots.
Was that the night you just went through Macon and stopped by Capricorn?
Oh, yeah, it was the night I went to check on my buddies. Yeah, I sure did. And
we won't go there.
My buddies at Capricorn. And, but the truth of the matter was this was a great example of an artist who had very little budget, really, and we chose a very classic setting, put him in a classic setting, let his song be what it was. And I think things got over 1 million, views now. And
yeah, I think
he's been on it got him known in Nashville, and he's talking to a lot of different traditional country outlets and stuff. And so sometimes, and not everyone's got the most progressive music, but if you talk to any real country music fan, they'll tell you that's what country music is missing. From the old Conway, Twitty, George Jones days and those days of George Strait and real country music. So I think that as country music has evolved into pop music and to, let's just face it, Georgia Florida Line and people like Taylor Swift, it doesn't give a lot of room for Tammy Wynette music, right? So I think he jumped right in there, and that's a map artist you should really be proud of, the Aaron Tanner, and was it Terry Richardson, his manager? And
yeah, Terry's a Grand Ole Opry member. Yeah. And through Terry, looks like we may be able to do some podcasts with Georgette Jones, who was George and Tammy Wynette's youngest daughter. And her husband actually played pedal steel on Aaron's album. So good connections there. And
that guy, man, let me tell you something about Aaron Tanner.
He's a real deal.
He's the real deal. He loves his wife, Jesus, and his babies. And I remember I said, Aaron, here's what I want you to do. Yes, sir. I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. Yes, sir, Mr. Mill. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, you don't have to call me sir. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And all day long I said, please don't call me sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's so proper and so respectful that he's not going to let me tell him not to be. And I think that's really authentic. So I enjoy, one of the smaller things we did, but look how much impact that's had for that artist. A brand new artist, it's really helping him get known. So that was a cool project. And shout out to Dolee. Hey, if you ever want to have a wedding in the middle of Georgia, call that place. It's really intimate. They got a bridal suite. It's old school, man. It feels like the Big Chill.
It's you don't expect it. Actually, the folks that run it, she used to have a hair salon in McRae, so she would cut my hair. So I've known her for years, and so I knew it was a cool place. And I thought, okay, well, this will work. We actually had 2 places in mind. This one ended up being the best option at the time, and she's a little Southern Belle sweetie, so she just welcomed us with open arms. And when we got there, they just, like Mel said, they just let us have run of the place, and great little places for photos. And they got a old classic Ford truck sitting out there, and the chapel, and then the inside of the house. Let me explain this. It's legit antique. This house was built in 1892. And
tin roof.
Yeah, tin roof. And all the fixtures inside, everything is antique. It looks great in there. I mean, perfect for this video. So that day just worked out great for everybody.
And if you movie makers out there, this would be a great location for a cool scene in a movie. I'm sure at some point they'll find that place in Georgia, and she'll have a movie shot there. But we got to shoot there first. It was cool. Thanks for that one, Joe.
And then they also have a very nice bridal suite, which would be great for a female artist to do a shot in there. So I know Mill doesn't mind me speaking for him. He's like, man, I'd love to come shoot here again. So, but there are some cool places.
Set that table, Chuck. We need to go back there with a female artist. We've done a male there, so we'll shoot it differently.
We're working on it. We got a couple in mind.
That's a cool one. That's a cool one.
Oh, well, what else would you like to talk about?
Let's I would say let's talk about hang on.
I had a thought earlier. You know, we've talked about artists and musicianship, and you know the kind of like the internal reward that we get from being creative. One of the nice things that I've always found rewarding is just that interaction with people as a musician. Is there a correlation between you as a producer of content on the visual side versus the reward that we get as music performers?
Right, absolutely. Let's make a correlation. Okay, we'll call this the grand correlation of film and audio, or let's make it the grand correlation of music and film. Okay, 4/4 time is 4/4 time. Okay, and stanzas and choruses and structure. There's some structures in video, especially in movies. You know, you got opening act, and you got it's like a bridge. You have a inciting incident in the movie, and you have a bridge, you know, where you let it all hang out, and then you have a big conclusion. So the structure of a song and the structure of a movie and the structure of stories, we all as people have been taught sort of a framework, sort of a timing and a tempo. We all listen to the radio, and if you'll notice, we all make our songs to fit the radio, except Bohemian Rhapsody, one of the most successful songs of all time, to play the most on the radio.
Freebird,
yeah. And so there's those rare occasions. But the correlation, I think, is that I wanted to be a lead guitar player and wear leather pants and have all the girls. That's just not me. I'm a little bit of a Georgia thick Bubba guy, and with a big heart, some talent, and a good noggin, I guess you could call it. But lead guitar is not going to be my thing. So, but when you shoot and edit and create and construct the video for a band, the lead guitarist gives you a hell of a lot of respect. And so it's kind of like your way of playing with the band. It's kind of like your way of getting the self-esteem of, man, I did that song. And then when they show the video, they talk more about the director than they do about the lead guitarist usually, unless the lead guitarist is the front man who sings it. But so it gives you a chance to be part of the band, to get the feeling of euphoria of completing a project and people listening to it and liking it. I got to tell you, every time I would make a video and they would get on MTV, that's a big deal because the shelf space on MTV was pretty small. And you knew if you made it on MTV, you had broke. That's the way it used to be in the early days. And now, if you put a viral video out, you get 1 million views like Aaron did, wow, that was a good piece of product right there. So I think the self-gratification is that you're part of the music too when you make the visuals to help promote the music. And I think there's two things that can happen with music and video. One is the video can make the music better. And the other is the music can make the video worse. So a bad video, I wouldn't put out any video because the competition's pretty stiff and it's a waste of time and it creates a perception that you suck, And so it's not good to put out a lot of bad content just to be sticking out content. And so what really I like is to get with artists who you find out they grew up in the band and played drums in the drum line and learned to sing in college, and now they're trying to make it rather than work at the dock, and they are great. Those kind of people you look at and go, wow, how can we massage this person into a brand, into a name? Let's get them logos. So David McMahon's a great example, from nowhere to just, well branded, well thought out EPKs, photo shoots, music videos, popping, and then right as he releases it, February? Yeah. It's pandemic day number 2 and he's on the release, so unfortunately for him, he had all that energy going and then the pandemic kind of put a mask on his project for a minute. But that happens, but an emerging artist created organically from scratch, and you being there and helping that artist get there, it creates kind of a bond. There's no one I've ever made a music video for, Chuck, that doesn't call me up or thank me, or when I see them go, oh yeah, dude, that's what we did, And so it's been a lifelong thing to have hits where I didn't actually play any music. It's been pretty cool that way. And that's how most of my friends are people, artists, and people in the bands. Almost everybody I work with is an artist, and everybody I live with or have lived with is an artist or an actress or something. So it's been my whole life. I like those kind of crazy people.
Yeah. On the opposite side of things, from the music side, you being the visual side, so many stories and from people, roadies, live sound guys that have ran sound for Poison and, whoever, Ozzy Osbourne. I was talking with my studio partner, some of the stories that his buddy Bobby had, and how Bobby's mother met Ozzy Osbourne one time and said, "Why do you play this devil music?" Ozzy's like, but the point that we're getting at is, even if you're behind the scenes, even if you're not directly musical, the reward that you get from creating something when you run sound for a show that has 20,000 people, right? It's like one big group unity and one party, and for a moment in time, people can get their mind off of what's happening, and those are special moments. And a lot of times, especially in today's COVID times, we miss that, and we don't realize we're missing it as much as we do.
Yeah, I think everybody's so fixated on the TV that the radio's suffering, and then listen to radio broadcasting. Some of that's gotten somewhat political too. So I think a lot of people are just becoming zoned out, and they're trying to find escapes. And music's always been the great escape, and it will be again, Chuck. It'll happen again. There'll be a rise of appreciation for live concerts like they've never seen. We'll probably have, once pandemic is clear and you can pack a stadium, I doubt there'll be very few stadiums that aren't packed for a while, because people have, you always want something you can't have, and we haven't been able to have it, and it's part of life. And I think you just said it, whether you're in the stadium as a sound guy, the light guy, 16th row next to your girlfriend, you're there because you're on a bachelorette party and they bought you tickets in the first row, or you're in the back at catering. When it starts rumbling and they play that hit song and everybody's won, that's something else. I think the time I experienced that the most was I saw Pink Floyd at Georgia Tech Stadium for The Wall.
Wow.
And it was a huge set, and it was just Pink Floyd. And when they did The Wall, it was like, what? And I felt like I was part of it. Yeah. I tingled, man. I was like, wow, that was something else, that show. And so, yeah, music can bring us together again. And I'll say it right here. What's today's day? We won't say the day, but it's March 2021-ish. And music will be the thing that kind of pulls us out of this and gets people back together. It'll be songs and events. If you think about, when we had famine in Africa, music for Africa, you think about the biggest collaboration we've ever had, We Are the World. The only way that could happen is at the Grammy Awards, because you can't get that many big people in the music business in the same room to do the thing. But Michael Jackson said, you know what, instead of partying tonight, why don't y'all come sing? And it's never happened again. And if you think back in history, even in, This Is Christmas, that they did, and just different things like that, it makes people stop.
Feed the world.
Feed the world. That's exactly right. It makes people stop and remember what the simple, basic things are. And because of technology is a two-bladed sword. One side cuts right through you, and the other side has dull as all get out. But right now, it's cutting through people, and we've let too much. We've let too much be said too easily, too often, with too less repercussion. With no, what do you call it? With no
repercussions.
Repercussions, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. You can say anything you want about the president, and you really get no repercussions except a bunch of people putting bad clicks. Do you really get any repercussions? So that freedom of speech, we have the most freedom of speech that we ever had right now on the independent level. We have the least I'm out of freedom of speech on the national level. So
I
weird time.
I would say corporate level.
Yeah, corporate level. So if you're just some homespun guy talking to people, you can say whatever you want. But if you say something big about somebody, you get censored right and left. And censoring is going to ruin a couple things. It's going to ruin lyrics too, because people aren't going to, when they start going in and canceling songs because of lyrics, that's going to really be a sad day. If we go back and cancel, Honey, It's Cold Outside. Really?
Yeah. But
Dr. Seuss, really?
But WAP is okay,
Yeah. Oh,
let's not go there.
No, but you know what? If you gotta have to split screen it and you put WAP on one side and Dr. Seuss on the other, I still have to believe that 95% of Americans are going to actually, even if they know they're not going, we're going to point at Dr. Seuss. I mean, Dr. Seuss, I grew up on. I learned more ethics, conduct, and values, and how to treat people out of Dr. Seuss than anything else. My granddad used to read them to me and tell me why. And so I don't think it has to do with anything like that. I think it's all about an identity movement. And again, music does that. Music has identity. It's not political as much, but it moves. And we've seen that in country, because like with Aaron Tanner with the classic stuff, and then you got the David McMahons with the commercial stuff, and you got these people with the pop stuff. And I've got nothing against Taylor Swift or Georgia Florida Line or Luke Bryan or any of those very successful monetary artists, but they're not the ones I like. Give me a Luke Combs, man. Give me someone rough. Give me someone who's working for it. And to me, that's the kind of artist that I want to be around. Yeah. And so the business isn't as good as it used to be, and so we have to get better, at what we're doing, man.
Well, I know part of my goal is that if I'm producing an artist or a song, I want that particular song to be timeless. I think for every artist, we don't just want to create. I mean, you have things that you create in the moment, but you also want to create things that will have longevity. You want things that you want to make your impact in the world. Like I like the old Blackberry Smoke song. Leave a scar, I want to leave a scar on the earth. I might not burn it down, but I can try to leave a scar. That's kind of
the song that triggered. You just triggered the song for me is Charlie Daniels, man. The devil went down to Georgia. I mean come on, man, that's so timeless.
Dude, when I was a kid, and that song would come on the radio, it's like, oh yes,
that violin part with the fiddle, up on this fiery stump. Boy, let me tell you what.
And it's so funny that was going to be a side song on that album, and it ended up being his biggest hit ever. It's amazing how that works,
Yeah, man. I mean, and also you got the Freebird. I mean, one of the things cool about MAP is you're in that area. We've talked about this when I was part of your developmental team for MAP, and that is, how can we capture the spirit that Muscle Shoals sound did? And basically, Muscle Shoals is just a location, but it was the people that were there and the music that was made there. And Macon was like that with Capricorn and some of the the Allman Brothers and
I just finished mixing a project for a band.
I saw that. Was it the Poachers?
Bodine and the Poachers. Yeah.
Bodine and the Poachers. And so they brought that room back. Mercer brought it back, and so the way pocketed music communities have developed over these years is that one hit comes out of somewhere no one knew where it came from. And so the hope for MAP is that a mega hit would come out of your area because you exist and because you were able to connect some dots for somebody that was talented. Someone told me a long time ago that the most talented people live in apartment garages because they just don't understand how to communicate with business people. And some of the best artists, and that goes for musicians and visual artists in the world, never get discovered because they're so in tune with art that they're dumb to business, and they don't even have any idea where to start. And so what you're going to have at times down your way is you're going to have some mom hear about you and say, I've got my 16-year-old daughter who sings at church, and they say she's pretty good. And then you listen to her and you realize she's really good. Yep. And she doesn't even know how to read music yet. That's the kind of artist that you get, and then 2 or 3 years later they get a single, and you can do that. You can do that down there. In fact, that's how Mama Jan works. And the reason Mama Jan, the biggest or the most successful vocal coach on the planet, is in our MAP advisory group is because she's committed to Chuck that if you can find us a vocalist like that or a group like that, that she'll work with us to help them grow. And so the goal is that we would find in Middle Georgia some unsigned, unknown super talent somewhere. And you never know where it's going to come from. So you may find some choir girl coming out of Georgia Southern and have her sing country, and next thing you know, you've got a single that, it doesn't happen overnight like that, the artistry part of it, but sometimes a song does. Sometimes a song is written in a barbecue spot on a napkin, and then it becomes something bigger, and a few months later it's a recording. So I think that's the opportunity for MAP, is to be an incubator, I guess you'd call it.
Well, the challenge with any artist is to get the product out there. When you decide to be an artist, you become your product. And the trick is, for instance, if you create the greatest pillow ever developed, it may be the greatest pillow ever invented, but you've still got to figure out how to get it on the shelves in Walmart and Target and all these other places. It's kind of the same challenge with artists. You've got to figure out, okay, we got this great product. Now we got to figure out how to get it out there. Once you develop it and create it, that's the cool part. That's the part where I'm primarily involved with. And the parts that we're venturing for and developing and getting off into these areas, that's where we want to be able to help the artist. All right, we helped you create this cool thing. Now how can we get it even further? Because we want people to have a good sustaining career. We want people to have an enjoyable career. Nobody gets into, like you said earlier, you alluded to how, sometimes the bigger projects, the headaches pile on. Every project has its own set of challenges, but we want artists to be able to have a sustaining career that is rewarding. I think anybody who does anything along these lines want that. Who would want the headaches that comes along with it? Nobody wants the headaches. We really want to help nurture artists. We want to help them to be able to create in a good environment with the right people. We don't want to, you don't want a country producer producing a hip hop thing unless it's a cross genre thing. So you have to hook up with the right people. You have to hook up with the right video editors and directors, just like Mill, and find the right vocal coach like Mama Jan, who is the best in the world. We've got to find all the right people, and we're making those connections, and that's what we want to do.
Before we go, I think it would be important to end in this first podcast. And once again, Chuck, thank you for creating MAP. I think your part of the state really needs it. I see an opportunity now for people in your area, south of your area, west of your area, and east of your area, anything lower than Atlanta, basically, to have a place to get some connections and to get some music heard. I think it's real important. I think that there's something that people need to realize. I think for an independent artist, there's 4 components. The first component is you got to have talent and you got to go make a recording. And I think that, with your recording studio and your history and making records, you can answer that. The second is you've got to be able to brand. You got to have images. You got to have a look, a style, a feel that matches the artist, whether they're a female or an older male that's rugged, who's, whatever. Then you got to have a communicator. What is a communicator? It's something that tells somebody else, who is this, why is this, what is this, when is this, and where is this, right?
Salesperson. Yeah.
Basically, we call that in our industry an EPK, or an electronic press kit. Yeah. And then you got to have a music video. Okay. So the 4 components are, you got to have the song, you got to have the branding, you got to have the story, or the EPK, and you got to launch a single. Now, that's an investment. And for someone that has very little money, that's a substantial investment. If it's Uncle Bob's money, or my grandma's going to help me out, it's Uncle Bob or Aunt, grandma's money. It's money, But unless you can invest the time and the energy and the professional stuff to do those 4 components, it's hard to get any kind of a record deal, because the first thing they want is all those components. And so if you do all those things at a high level, when you get to the record deal, your chances of getting signed or getting to the next level are far greater. And if you don't, let me tell you the benefits, okay? And this is true. Ask any artist who's been trying to make it. I see this in artists all the time. They get out of high school, they had talent, they want to do music. All their other kids go to college, start working at the corporation, start getting the 401k. And they scramble around, shoving nickels and dimes together, trying to make it, going, I'm an artist. I'm trying to be an artist. I'm trying to be an artist. And in the process, they got to have support. That means they got to live somewhere. They got to have a family member, or they got to live off of something else because they're not going to make enough money to have their own sustainability yet because they've chosen music. And then everyone that loves them shows up at their gigs, okay, and buys their tickets, you know, and but just in the little town, or, you know, maybe enough for a Kerrigan's or a place like that down by you guys, you know, a Red Stag or whatever it's called. And then to go further than that, you start getting invested with everyone. The family has had to listen to you be a musician for the last 5 years. And oh my gosh, what are you going to do with that? Are you ever going to do anything with it? Well, once you get the record, the album cover, the music video, and the story, all those people that have suffered and helped you and supported you, all of a sudden they see something you really did do. Mm-hmm. So even if you don't have a big hit, going through the process of being professional and being ready to be in that position. And so the fallout is, if you don't make a record deal, the promoter now can take all those things and start booking you. So either way, whether you want to play in a legitimate circuit or if you want to try to showcase and try to get a record deal, you have to develop some things. And MAP does a lot of those things. Image Mill does some of those things. Jan Smith does some of those things. We have tentacles, I guess you would call it, specialists or whatnot. And everybody can work if there's a lot of money. Heck, I've worked on a lot of talent. When I'm working on them getting paid full price, I'm like, boy, they do not have the talent. But they had the management. And so someone else thought they were better than they were, and they spent a lot of money. And I've seen Macarena type things happen, you know, that you're like, how did Biz Marquee become a hit? You know, you got what I need, you know. So that's the crazy one. And, you know, there are those kind of things. But so there is a benefit, everybody listening, to going through the process. You grow, you get an identity. You can say you had a record. You can say you made a music video, and it satisfies all your teachers and all the people who supported you because you look and feel like a star. Whether you make the money or not, there's a lot of value in doing what you said you were going to do for the people that had supported you. So it's my advice for all you people, get in the studio, bring a song, bring it over to Chuck. Chuck's got all kind of musicians and session guys and songwriters in your area and also in Atlanta and some in Nashville. If you've got a hit song or a rockin' voice, or you can play lead guitar no one knows like Eddie Van Halen, you need to get on the map. You need to find people who can connect you to money, to opportunity, to recording sessions, to creating product. And if you're developing your own thing, get a few bucks together, get in the studio, do some demos. I don't think you guys really do demos. I mean, your demos are like end up being recordings. Most pros don't just do demos now. They just record it for real. Why not? And so with that being said, for all the people out in map world, map land, we can call it, if you want to get on the map, make music, make marketing, make product, because it's not for you. It's for strangers you've never met. And so if you think of it like that, I don't know you, but I just saw your video and your music. I like it. I liked your page. I want your t-shirt. I'm going to follow you. What's your next song? Yep. That's what happens. So the number one rap record in the world right now is from a guy who did on a laptop the song. His girlfriend made the video, and he is smoking Eminem's top 3 hits out right now, which everyone thought would take number one, and it isn't. And it's blowing me away. So independent music coming out of nowhere in middle Georgia, it can happen. And it's a different day now. So I'm proud of what you guys have built over at MAP. And we stand here in Atlanta to support all Georgians. And Chuck is the only person, and MAP is the only group south of Atlanta that's ever even talked to us about developing artists in that area or down south or down in South Georgia or North Florida. We've never heard from a producer developer in your area. So I think you're in a good place over time. If you keep building your studios and keep building up your relationships, making this pipeline bigger and stronger with more tentacles, you're going to find that artist, and you're going to launch an artist out there, and it will be a Cole Swindell or you know, a Jason Aldean or even someone even bigger. You know, Alan Jackson came from your area, you know. So at the end of the day, God puts people everywhere. It's just who has the guts, the connections, and the ability to put 2 and 2, make 4, and go for it. So if you choose music, don't just talk about it. You can't just talk about it. That's not real. You've got to make a product, and you've got to try to be professional about the product. And I think that's what MAP can do. They can put you on the path to product.
Well, there's no plan B. This is what we love. When it's
Burn the boats.
It's easy to do when you love it. It's easy to put up with the headaches when you love it. It's easy to put in the effort and put in the hours and hours and hours when you love it. So, a love of the music is a love of the creators of music, the people that want to make music, and that's what we want to do. We want to help find those people in our area and abroad. I had a girl drive up all the way from Fort Lauderdale recently to come work on a track, and and if people want to come, we're there. That's what we want to do, and we do have these amazing connections with Mellencamp and Mama Jan and some other avenues, Reel to Reel Studios.
Will Turpin, Collective Soul guys.
And our reach is growing, and we are so appreciative of people that are serious and professional. That's what we want to be. So many people just kind of half end it, for lack of a better term. We want to be professional. We want to do it right. We want to help people do what they do and do it professionally. And at the end of the day, when the project is done, we can all look back at it and say, man, we had a part in that. Just like we were talking earlier, I helped create that. I had a part in that. That's where the reward's at. Yeah, we got to make a living somehow, but might as well do it doing something we love,
Well, to all the viewers out there, Chuck and I worked on another project, and because of some dynamics, the project it had every reason to be successful. It really did. It had all the pieces. There was just one major problem, and it just didn't work. But from that, Chuck and I became really good friends, and when I asked him, he said, I've got to figure out a way to be a musician for the rest of my life and to make my money in music, my living helping other people. And he means it, and he's brought to Atlanta a whole handful of artists that have been produced and have products and have music videos, and it's really happening. From the time we named it, I'm really proud to be the first guy on this first podcast, because
I wasn't going to have you had to be number one.
Well, it's been good because we see a vision, and the vision is that Chuck's going to find some artists, and they're going to be able to grow further than where they are from right now. And I think that's a noble place to be. A lot of people quit when it gets hard. A lot of people they don't double down, and we're in triple downing and quadruple downing at this point. And you're still here, and anybody who does it for the right reason is going to do it whether there's money or not. You got to be an artist whether there's money or not, and invest in yourself whether it's money or not. And so I think it all comes down to when you get to the end of your life, you hear a lot of people say, I wish I wouldn't have worked so hard. But I never really hear musicians say that. They want to work hard. They want the feeling of creating and other people appreciating it. So what it is, it's performance-based approval. It's a way we get love. Musicians, artists, visualists, when we do something and someone pats you on the back and say, hey, man, that sounds great. Hey, man, that recording is amazing. That poster or that album cover, the guy behind the scenes, you and me, we get the admiration and we get the self-esteem. Now it's not broadcast all over the internet. So, but if you go look at all the biggest artists in the world, look right behind them, there's going to be a couple of people, and there's going to be a lot of people like myself and Chuck and, Mama Jans of the world. And so at the end of the day, we're just a consortium of artists that all love this, that wouldn't do another thing, and we're still surviving. And so you just, like a river flows, you just go around the rock and find another way to meet up on the other side. And we're going around this pandemic, and the goal is that people in your area would understand that they have a chance, and they have a chance if they come over to MAP and get some evaluation. I think you got to evaluate projects. You can't take on everything. Some things are baked well enough. Yeah. Some people think their daughter can really sing, and they really can't. Yeah. And then sometimes you just get completely surprised by, a Tori James type artist that you just hear them and they're just a local and they're young and you're like, whoa. And see, that's what's so great. Think about Carrie Underwood. Come on now. She came right off the farm. She had never even done a gig. She'd never lifted an amp before. And she won the American Idol. And ever since then, it's funny because we were talking, she's never lifted an amp since then. And she's played the biggest stages in the world. And she's never played a small stage. And so that's what's interesting. And she's just a little country gal.
She went from here to there,
like overnight. Like and so music and talent and quality has to be there. And I think you guys can give all that. So we just need the artists now to show up and to know that they can make it from Georgia. And this Georgia network, this Georgia pipeline that you've helped create is dedicated to Georgia music.
Well, not just that, the dedication, but also the dedication to the right relationships. I don't think any of us want to be tied to shifty or ventures that don't have integrity or professionalism. To me, that's very important as well, because I want to know that if I send this person to you, for instance, to do a video or photo shoot, that I've got no worries. I know that you're going to be professional. You're going to give the best product. You're going to do what needs to be done for that artist in the right time and for value. There's an old saying: if it doesn't cost you anything, it has no value. So, people are all the time, oh, what if you do this for free and for exposure? If it doesn't cost you anything, it's not. It definitely doesn't have value to me. It has to have value for you.
Well, there's one thing you cannot buy. There's no store that sells credibility, and you have to earn that. You can't just say, I don't know. For example, I'm on a collegiate rowing team, and you've never rowed before. Yeah. So there's a lot of ego, and there's a lot of boisterous people. Where the rubber meets the road is sing at the opening of an envelope. If you're a singer, sing. Mm-hmm. If you're a player, play. That's all you need to do. Talented people that know talent will know whether you need to be developed further or not.
Exactly.
And so it's also another thing. I think what's cool about where you're at is an artist may come to you this year. My daughter can sing. I'm a single mom. What can we do? We don't have a lot of money. Okay, well, let's just do some tests. Here's some advice. You need to work on this. You need to work on that. Come back in 6 months. They come back in 6 months. They're a little better, but they hadn't tried that hard. But they came back in 6 months, and then you give them a little more initiative, and then you give them an ultimatum. I'll see you back here in another year, but I want you to have this, that, and the other. A year later, they come back and they blow your socks off. The key is that you've been there the whole 2 years. Mm-hmm. That person, that area can keep coming until they're ready to make a record. So some of the artists that you will get won't work right away. They'll have to learn more. Yeah. Some of you'll get will have so many bad habits that you'll have to pull that out of them. And so I think part of it is your producers group and just having an ability to take someone and let them trust you and make music that fits them, make images that fit them, and get them ready to be received by an audience that really is very critical. I mean, the music audience is like, I love it, I hate it. I love it, I hate it, And so, it doesn't please everyone with what you make, but it's important to finish up that you sing what you feel, you sing what you know, with all your heart. Otherwise, it's not going to get there. Mm-hmm. You got to love it.
And one of the things I was going to say that relates to that is the challenges of when you have a song, when you create a song, the vocal is the centerpiece of that song. You have to put all the emotion into that. You have to capture what you're trying to say. And that can be a process, because I've worked with singers where maybe they were being they weren't really being lazy with their vocal, but the impact and the emotion that the song needed, it needed more. Sometimes you almost have to overemphasize your syllables, for instance, or the feeling behind it for that story to tell what it needs to tell, because that's going to help the song be what the song needs to be. But it'll also put emphasis on the artist, like, oh man, they're selling it, they're making it what it needs to be. So on the producer side of things, those are the kind of things that we try to help you with too. Maybe you're 90, 95% there. We want to get you 100% there.
Right.
There's a lot of people that can kind of get 80, 90% there, but we're there to help you with that last 10% to get you where you need to be. And that's part of the process. As you grow as a musician, you find the things that need working on. There are a lot of really naturally talented people out there. Sometimes they need just a little bit of polishing,
right?
And that's part of what we do too. So if you have maybe a song you need some arranging, or maybe you have a little area in your vocal that you might need a little help, if we can't help you, we'll see if we can get you in with Mama Jan. Ultimately, our goal is always to help you create, and to create a good product, and to do it in a formidable way that will help you sustain your career and help you be who you want to be as an artist. It's all about the artistry. there's so many things we could talk about. But yeah, we're probably going to jump off here in a little bit.
There's one more thing I want to, maybe a little edutainment, if you will.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been at this game for 40 years. And when I first started, you had to go into, I'll just tell you this, in 1972, there were less than 300 albums recorded. This year, there were more than 16 million singles recorded. GarageBand, everything, you can record a single on your phone and publish yourself now. It's just numbers. The truth of the matter is, we had a big seismic shift in the music industry in the past 10 years, and it was called American Idol. And then The Voice and the X Factor. And now, instead of a knowledgeable artist development person going out and hearing about an artist and going and seeing them live and getting it, now you got 30,000 people, 90% of them are goofy, in a parking lot, in a line, like cattle, to a big TV show with a bunch of hoo-ha and a bunch of fancy judges to get one artist. What a detriment to the music industry. This is why you don't see Sheryl Crow and Tracy Chapman and Melissa Etheridge and real songwriters anymore. You see these polished, just commercial pop things that have been created on these TV shows. And so some of them are amazing. I mean, Carrie Underwood, there are several. But the way that we find stars is shifting. And let me tell you, those shows are dying. They've had a 15-year run, man. It's really wrecked artist development because so many artists don't get a chance. And then the ones that do get signed to those groups have bad record deals anyway. Yeah. But Mama Jan and myself, we never liked the way that they developed and found artists because it cheated a lot of other people. And what it showed you, though, is that someone can come out of a barn in Mississippi and be the winner, so there's hidden talent everywhere. Well, I think the same thing happens, but what's happening right now with the seismic shift of COVID is that those shows aren't as popular. They're fading. They're not believable anymore. And people are launching on TikTok. The biggest hits this year, think about this. Last year's biggest record was a gay black man in country music and Billy Ray Cyrus. Who'd have thunk it, and a rebirth for Billy Ray and a start for a whole new look at country music, right? And so that happened on the internet to start with, and it really blew up the internet. Even the Savannah Bananas, did an Old Town Road knockoff, right? Yeah. And so it's even the playing field. I think that getting discovered on the internet with great product that gets tracking is just as valuable as being in the final 10 somehow on a show like that. Because once you get in those final 10, then the record label people start lobbying for who they want to win. And if they perform well enough until they get to the fans, and then the fans can mess it up for them. We've seen that with Daughtry and a few other people that won third or fourth that end up being more succcessful than anybody. Yeah.
No, I'm a huge Taylor Hicks fan. From those days. But
what was the name of his what was his group?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he had a bunch of, he called his fans something. They were it was the Soul Patrol.
Soul Patrol, yeah.
Yeah, Salty Hair from Alabama, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of came and went.
Hoping to have him on a podcast soon.
Oh, yeah. And so the truth of the matter is, here we are shifting again. So the fact is, it's easier for someone that's undiscovered to get discovered right now than ever before. Mm-hmm. But to get discovered, you got to have an intro package. You got to have a record. You got to have some visuals. Yeah. You got to have a brand and an idea. And if you can get a music video, it really helps expedite, because people, when they see the music and hear it, they can appreciate it more, and it's more impactful. So for all you people out there wondering, how could I ever make it? Well, the universe just made it easy. Everybody has access to getting seen. So that's all I can say now. It's unbelievable to me that someone can self-produce a single from their bedroom and have a number one rap song over Eminem's world greatest hits. It's unbelievable that happened. That's like what just happened in the stock market with the stocks, you know. So everything's shifting, you guys. So, but one thing that'll never shift is content. talent is talent, no matter how you stripe it or what box you put it in. And people that buy and sell talent, they know talent when they see it. So if you've got talent, you'll get there. Just don't make too many mistakes. Trust a few people and just stay on some sort of a course. And when it comes to MAP, I've seen it. I've seen these guys, they're lifers, man. And like Chuck, you just said, it's a commitment. We're going to stay here. We're not going to move my family to Nashville. We're not going to go for the big dream. We're going to stay here in the backyard. We're going to build it here. And then we're going to go to Nashville and help other people launch their dreams. And it reminds me of Mama Jan. You know, Mama Jan was critically acclaimed. She was a big rock singer, and she had 7 records, and Nashville loved her, but she didn't quite fit their mold. Mm-hmm. And so here's someone who had 7 records and then couldn't be an artist, so she started teaching artists, and she's made 10 times the career being a vocal coach than she did being the solo artist. And so sometimes God has something different from you. So you, Chuck, have a chance to lead the exodus of artists out of nowhere into the pipeline and get them an opportunity. And hopefully in your area, a couple of artists will hit someday, and then they'll look at, you know, I always loved Dublin. You know, I know that's your neighboring. You almost
I was actually born in Dublin.
Yeah, and you know that place is growing so fast because I heard the joke. I heard this at the Chester's Chicken
Chester's Chicken
at the what?
Chester's Fried Chicken.
At Love's,
the pilot Love,
yeah. Love's and with the truck stop is.
Yeah, Love's, yeah.
And the lady says to me, she goes, "Oh, this is the fastest growing city in America." I said, "It is." She said, "Yes, because every day we be Dublin." I thought that was so funny. Anyway, so that whole area, you could put that on the map on a national level with one big artist. Yeah. So good luck to you. I know that's what everybody's shooting for, and that's why we're behind the whole process, is because we believe you're going to do it.
Well, you and I are both country boys. We're Georgia boys. I mean, you're kind of country. You grew up in Savannah, and humble beginnings.
Country boy with a crab.
Yeah, and so we love Georgia. We love Georgia music. We love the area we're in. You're kind of up here in Atlanta because you're the nature of your business. You kind of have to be. And
my heart's in Savannah, though.
Yeah. I love Savannah too, man. My college days, every chance I got, I'd go play at the blues clubs. That was my college years right there, man.
Right, those Southern Eagles.
We love River Street, yeah. Georgia Southern. I'm a Georgia Southern guy. Yeah.
Y'all didn't know that Chuck played horn and marching band and all that stuff. A degree in music. He's not just a rocker. He knows all the education stuff.
Yeah, don't tell anybody too much. Got to hold back some stuff. One day I'll be big like you, and I'll be able to share all my stories.
You'll be a senior superlative in your yearbook, won't you?
Yeah. Well, let's wind it down unless you have anything else, man. This has been awesome. This is our first podcast, so it's kind of a new thing for us here at MAP, but we knew we had to do it. It was an extension of our growth.
Yes.
And we're happy to offer these services. We're looking forward to interviewing all sorts of people, industry people, but not just that. We primarily really want to do it for the people that we work with and the people that we work around, So we're looking forward to getting our artists out there. And developing newer artists. We have folks coming in. I have 3 new bands coming in the next month, and a couple of solo artists. So things are happening. Things are starting to roll. We're getting the studio painted and getting it looking good. Wow. Got a new console coming in and new gear and new folks. So it's despite COVID, it's a really cool time for us. We really feel like we're on the cusp of something, but. Being here at Image Mill Studios with Mill Cannon is just it's an honor.
Thank you.
He's not just somebody that I work with. I consider him a brother, and I say that with all sincerity. So we're glad to be here. And again, this is On the Map podcast from Music Artist Pipeline, and I've been your host, Chuck Hutchison, and I will continue to be your host. We want to thank Ken for sitting in with us. Ken's one of our studio partners. He's going to be renting out the back room, and he's going to have his own little workstation. Tell you a little bit about Ken. He's more of a synth guy, 80s pop guy, doing all the keys work, and he's a valuable asset to what we're doing. And I want to give a shout out to Kent Dowling. Kent is our other studio partner, and just a great guitar player, knows a lot of folks, passionate music guy. I'm surrounded by some great folks. And also Miles Willis was also supposed to be here today, but unfortunately he had a stomach bug. So here's a shout out to Miles. Going to have him co-hosting some podcasts. Great guy, great singer, great guitar player. And I've worked with his brother Avery on bass guitar before. So really cool things happening, great networking, great musicians, great artists. We're just glad to be here. We're super excited to get this first podcast off the ground. And thank you so much for having us, Mill.
I have one last thing to say to the viewer, to the listeners out there. I was told by someone in this industry the best thing you could ever have is a personal endorsement. So let me just say to all the parents or anybody spending money or anybody in that area who hears about MAP, feel free to call me up here in Atlanta, or you can email me at mill@imagemill.com. That's MIL at imagemill, IMAGEMIL.com. If you want a referral, I'll put my name on this. I've seen Chuck grow this from Jump Street. I've seen him invest in other artists for free. I've seen him help develop people and work on his studio, and he has a vision, and he's legit. And if you need a personal reference as to who you're working with, feel free to call me, and I'll give you a few references from then. So I'd like to validate that what you guys are doing is legit, it's pro, and it's something we're excited about. And anybody wants to call me about that, feel free. I never do open my email for stuff like that. But if you live in Georgia, you can have my email. How about that?
Well, I tell you, if anybody's endorsement I would desire, it would be yours, dude. People, I don't think, it's so, what's so cool about Mill, and I know we're trying to wind this down, but he's just a good old boy. He could be as pretentious as could be with all the names that he's worked with. That's one of the things that I appreciate about you so much, that you are real, you're a hard worker, you're legit, you do work with honesty, and that's worth more than gold.
Mama Jan taught me something after 40 years. She said, Mill, humility is attractive. So take that with you.
Well, we're gonna close this thing down. Again, this is On the Map with Music Artist Pipeline. I'm your host, Chuck Hutchison, and we were gonna see you next time, and look forward to our next round of guests. Thank you, Mill. We'll see you soon.
Okay, you guys, be good. Put it on the map.
You've been listening to On the Map, a podcast produced by Music Artist Pipeline. We want to thank Mill Cannon for being our first guest. We also want to thank the artists that allow us to use their music for our podcast. Indulgence from Vidalia, Georgia. Be sure to catch these guys. They put on a great show. We want to thank Tricord, a Christian band from the Jessup Baxley area. They have a new EP coming out, so y'all be sure to check those guys out, purchase their music, and support them. And we want to thank Bo Norwood, an excellent multi-instrumentalist from Sandersville. Join us for our next podcast as we interview traditional country artist Aaron Tanner from Kibbe, Georgia. Music Artist Pipeline. We put you on the map.